Ashley. Welcome to the show.
Hey, thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here.
I'm so pumped. So why don't you start off, just tell us a little bit about yourself.
Okay, so my name is Ashley Kaplan. I am a WordPress designer. I use Elementor to build all my websites. And I also coach female bloggers and entrepreneurs who are trying to get started but maybe don't have a budget for hiring me or someone else to build their own website. So I help them through that process.
Amazing. How did you get started in all this? Have you always been an entrepreneur?
No, I was in corporate until fairly recently, and I have an agriculture background, but ended up in the corporate world, not at all related to agriculture. But a few years ago, I started realizing that once my stepson graduates high school, my husband and I aren't planning to stay where we are. We're currently in Little Rock, Arkansas, and we were looking for a way that we would be able to travel and just kind of go around, visit family located everywhere. And so I started looking at careers that would allow me to do that. And I've always been kind of a nerd, and I was like, hey, I can build a website. So I learned how to do that, and it just kind of went from there.
How long ago was that?
Um, 2.5 years ago, probably, is when I started looking into that. I'd always kind of dabbled in different tech things.
Yeah.
Excel is not related to websites, but Excel has always been, but I always enjoyed that. And so while they don't seem related, Excel is kind of what led me into the world of designing websites.
Totally. I love your why of just being able to pick up your computer and go. Like
Yeah.
that's one of my whys too, of like,
Yeah.
we can live in France. This year already, we've been in Israel, Senegal, San Diego, Washington, D.C., Bordeaux, Paris, Le Mans, and that we're like in April or no,
That's
May. We're in
so,
May now.
yeah, just in May. Yeah. That's so exciting. Yeah. I love following your travels on Facebook.
But that's what you can do when you
I
have an
know. I'm
online
so
business.
excited.
Like, yeah. So you
Yeah.
recently quit corporate, yeah?
Yeah. Yeah.
So
I did. I did.
was that scary? Quit
It,
like leaving your job and now starting like this is it?
it was a little scary, but it was something that I had really prayed on and that I really wanted to do, and I knew was going to be the next best step for me.
Hmm.
And so whenever an opportunity presented itself, I was like, "Yep, I'll take it." So it's been a couple of months now, and it's going really well. I would not go back at all.
Totally. I know. But now it's like when you lose that safety net, things change. And like
Yeah,
your attitude in your business, I know this was for me. It was like you don't have a safety net, you got to make it happen.
yeah,
And like
exactly.
you show up differently, you have a different intensity. Um,
Yes, for
so,
sure.
so you felt that?
Oh yeah, oh yeah. I was like, all right, it's make it or break it time. Let's go.
Let's go. And look at you go. This is so exciting.
Yeah,
So
thank you.
tell us, why shouldn't you rely on just social media to build your business?
Yeah, so I love this topic and I get really passionate about it because I see so many people who they just don't understand the importance of having their own space on the web. No
Mhm.
matter how many followers you have on Facebook or Instagram or any platform, those can disappear overnight. I mean, they can literally delete your account and you're done. And if you have no website, no email list, you have no way of getting in touch with them tomorrow. So when social media is obviously a very important part of the game, especially in today's day and age. But you've got to have that website so that you can get people there, start collecting their email addresses, and keep in constant touch with them so that they know this is where we find you, this is where I'm going to hear from you. Not to mention, even though open rates are fairly low right now, I mean, I think industry average is about 20% open, but that's so much more than how many people are going to see your posts on social media. I think Optin Monster did a study and they found like 3% of your followers are going to see an average of your posts. So maybe you
Wow.
only have 20% open rates, but that's a lot better than 3% on social media.
Totally. And it's something that you own, like you
Yes,
control it.
exactly. Exactly. Yeah. And I hear a lot of people say, well, yeah, Facebook might delete my account, but MailChimp or Active Campaign or somebody, they might decide that they're going out of business. But you can always export those lists from your email provider
Yeah.
and go to another provider any day of the week. So you have so much more control, and you can't, once you have that email address, until somebody hits unsubscribe, you have their email address. You have a direct link to their inbox.
Totally. And I mean, another thing you could do is get text message campaigns. And
Yes.
so, like with
Yeah.
Scipio, that's something that we're starting to look into now too. I mean, email is still amazing, like don't get
Yeah.
me wrong, but why not have different avenues where you can reach
Exactly.
people? So just like diversify, you could get people
Hmm.
from your website to like text message or something like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. Tony Robbins and Dean Graziosi did that. Did you see the event that they did the other
Of
night with?
course I did. Who
Yes,
didn't
of
see
course,
the
of
event
course
they
you
did?
did. um, so they, I signed up for that, and I was like, awesome. I'm getting text messages because our email inboxes do get flooded, but we pay a lot more attention to our text than our email inbox sometimes. So I was like, oh yeah, I've got to tune in for that.
Right? Oh my
Yeah,
goodness.
yeah.
Okay. You definitely are speaking my love language of email lists, websites, all of that. Okay. So talk to us about design. What is one design tip you need to have incorporated into your website?
Okay, this is something that I learned from Donald Miller in Building a Story Brand, and thank
Which,
you for
yeah.
that recommendation. That is seriously the best book that I have ever read for my business.
Yep.
It totally changed my web design approach, and definitely for the better. It's helped my clients. It's helped me. It's made such a huge difference. So if you're going to incorporate one web design change into your site, make sure you have a big, bold call to action above the fold. So no matter what type of device they're on, they should know who you are, what you do, and how you're going to help them before they ever scroll down at all. It should, as soon as that website pops up, they need to know what to do so that they can take their next step.
Yes. Okay. Love, love, love that. What should that call to action be?
It needs to be something that is going to give them a quick win, and they should know in just a few seconds. I mean, we're all skimmers. We don't want to take the time to read a bunch of clunky text.
Mm-hmm.
So in one sentence, maybe two sentences, tell them exactly what you're going to do. So when people come to my website, I have a big call to action that says, download my free step-by-step WordPress guide and start your blog today. And they click a button and they get on my email list, and then they get my free download. So it needs to be something that is solving a problem, and that is clearly solving a problem, something that they can read that quick little blurb and realize, yes, this is exactly what I need.
Okay. So you have that call to action above the fold. What are some other essential elements you should have on that homepage?
You want to talk to your ideal client. Quite simply, nobody really cares what you're doing. They want to know how you're going to help them. And this all goes back to Donald Miller and his story brand. So speak to your clients' pain points, go through it, make sure that you are hitting, like when they read through, when they skim through the text on your website, they should be like, oh my gosh, she is speaking directly to me. I have got to get her stuff. I want to work with her. So hit those pain points, sell them on the transformation that they are going to experience when they work with you, when they download your freebie, when they buy a course from you. Sell them on that final transformation. They don't really care about the process. They just want to know what's going to happen in the end.
Oh, brilliant. Okay. Love. So you mentioned skimming. So we shouldn't have like huge chunks of text on our
Correct.
homepage.
Correct. Yeah. So I like to break it up with different visual aids. So whether that's a photo or a graphic, big bold headings that, again, when they read that big bold heading, they know exactly what you're talking about. They don't have to read the paragraph underneath it unless, it really piques their interest and they want to see what it's more in depth. And then your paragraphs. It's a lot easier to take in a 1 or 2 sentence paragraph, even though like I'm a super grammar nerd. That goes against every fiber of my being in terms of like formal writing, but you have to separate this. It's a website, text on a website is not formal writing. So, break it up, make it easy to read, and then really make those the main points in big bold text that will stand out even if they don't read those little paragraphs.
Okay, I like what you just said. Text on a website, it's like not academic. So
Yes.
I think that's
Yeah.
good because a lot of people think they need to be like all proper. And
Yeah.
I'm like,
No,
no,
use your
no,
voice.
just be
Use your
you.
voice. Yeah.
Yeah.
Whenever somebody reads, like I like to think that when someone is reading, whether it's a blog post, even if it's kind of a technical blog post where I'm giving a tutorial, I still want them to feel like they're on a Zoom call with me and I'm saying, okay, now you do this, then you do this, make it in your voice, make it personable, because that's going to build the know, like, trust factor that's so important in, ultimately leading to a sale. That's just going to help you move that along.
So right as you would speak, correct?
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
So like for me, I say things like dude and like just
Yeah.
like weird stuff or whatever because I'm weird. But like
Yeah.
I put that on my website just
Mm-hmm.
and that way people get to know me a little bit better. And it's like
Yes.
when they read it, it's all, especially as they hear my audio, like from the podcast or whatever, they can actually hear my voice as they're
Yes.
reading it, which is
Yeah,
pretty
for
cool.
sure. Yeah, it is. It is.
What pages would you recommend people have on their website? So you have a home page, an about me page, anything else that you would recommend we have?
Yeah, I recommend, especially if you're a service-based online entrepreneur, you want to give your audience a way to work with you. So either have a work with me or a services page that clearly outlines, you want to include your freebies on there, because if someone goes there first, chances are if they just landed on your website, they're not going to buy something from you just because they're there. They want to get to know you, like you, and trust you. So list out your freebies, list out all your different offers on your work with me page. And then definitely have a blog, because that not only is going to help you appear higher on Google's rankings just because you're producing consistent content, but that's also a way to put yourself as an expert in your field and allow you to show, or allow your audience to see that, yeah, you do know what you're talking about. You are a go-to resource for your subject matter.
Can you talk a little bit about the creating content to show up on Google? Because I do see a lot of entrepreneurs that maybe they just sell physical products and they
Mm-hmm.
just want to have their products listed out. And they're like, I don't want to take the time to create content. So why should
Yeah.
they?
It's so key. Even if you are product based, you're still an expert in your industry. There are still topics that you can share about. Maybe you share about the creation process for the products that you're producing. If you're in an MLM, you can still talk about. You want to talk about those products, but you also want to build your own brand to help you stand out from all the others that are in that same MLM program. So it's such an important way. And again, when you're consistently producing content, whether it's monthly, bi-weekly, weekly, that helps you be found in Google. It gives more pages for Google to index. It gives more, Google likes to see frequently updated content. So if you're frequently putting content out there, Google's going to say, oh, this website is constantly updated. It doesn't just have a products page, it's constantly updated. That means people are paying attention to it and it's going to appear more relevant.
Yes. Amen. Amen. So how often do you say we should create content?
It kind of depends on you. I mean, if it stresses you out to produce, I say minimum, or not minimum once a month, but ideally once a week.
Mm-hmm.
But if it stresses you out to produce content once a week, then try every other week. And if that is still too much, then do it once a month, but do it as often as possible. And if the idea of writing a blog post doesn't appeal to you, you can try a podcast. I do a lot of video tutorials just because it's better for my audience to see what I'm trying to teach them to do. It's quicker for me. So you don't have to write a blog post. You have a lot of options for creating new content on a consistent basis.
For sure, for sure. Okay, so you want us to have a blog page, an about me page, a work with me page, a home page. Should we have anything
Mhm.
else, or if we have too much, will that be like clutter?
Yeah, if you have too much, it can definitely confuse your audience. So going back to StoryBrand, you want your visitors to your website to have to burn as few calories as possible. And that kind of seems silly when you think about it, but go back and think about how when you get to a website, does it stress you out when you see 5 million menu items and you're like, I just want to know I just want to know what you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
And so minimize their options. And then within those pages, you can link to other things, but kind of categorize them, link to all of that, and then you can get deeper into the content under those main categories.
So keep it simple. Okay, you said something
Keep it
about
simple.
burning calories, and for people
Yeah.
that have never read Building a Story Brand, they're gonna have no clue what you're talking about. So
Yes.
can
Okay.
you clarify
Yeah.
that, please?
Yeah, so Donald talks about it all goes back, yes, we're highly evolved now compared to the caveman of, thousands of years ago, but we still our instincts go back to survive or thrive. So we still want to burn or use as little effort as possible to get to the end result.
Mm.
So when you give them fewer options, when you give your visitors fewer options, it's going to make it easier. You're not going to overwhelm them. And especially think about the people that you're serving. They're probably coming to you because they're stressed out, they're frustrated, they have an issue that they're trying to resolve. They don't want to spend a ton of time trying to figure out where to find the answer on your website. So think about it in that aspect, not necessarily in calories burned, but just in like the confusion factor, really.
So simplify, simplify,
Yes.
simplify.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Less is more. Less is more.
Ooh, that's good. Okay, write that
Yeah.
down. Write that one down. Okay. What are some common mistakes you see people making with their websites?
Oh gosh. Try not doing less is more. You come to a website that is just, you don't even know where to look. They have a million things above the fold. You're not sure what's going on. Not having a clear call to action, trying to do too many things, trying to attract. As like I hear you echoing in the back of my head all the time as I'm working with these new entrepreneurs. They're like, well, I want to do this and this and this and this. I'm like, no. Like, let's find one thing. So when I first got started, when I launched my business, I was not just focused on WordPress. I've told you before, I was an Excel nerd. So my original tagline was web developer, Excel nerd, grammar queen. So I was trying to do like so many things, and it confused. I would have a blog post about Excel one week and then a blog post about web development, and not even WordPress development, just some coding thing the next week, and nobody wanted it. So my audience never grew. I was trying to attract everybody, and I ended up, like you say, attracting nobody. So once I started focusing, I was like, okay, WordPress is where I need to focus. And then more specifically with Elementor, which is a plugin that I use to build a drag and drop plugin it's easy to teach non-techie people how to use it. That's when I really started to see my growth explode, and it's just kind of gone from there. So really trying to do too many things and trying to have too much going on your website are probably the biggest things I see.
Yeah, niching down. So that was big
Oh my
for
gosh,
you.
yeah.
And we
Huge.
did that. How many months ago did we niche you down?
September. So 7-8 months ago.
Was that within the Impact Blogging Academy then?
Yeah.
Okay.
That was like the first thing.
First thing we did.
And yeah. And actually I started thinking about it even before that in the Blog to Bank challenge. I was like, whoa.
Whoa, I got too much going on.
Yeah. Let's start over.
Yes. Okay. What are some top tips that you have for someone that's creating or they're redoing their website?
In terms, okay, well, first niche down, find your ideal client. Make sure that you have a clear message. Find the one thing that you are going to do, the one transformation that you are going to provide for them, and make sure that that is a common recurring theme throughout your website.
Mm-hmm.
In terms of tech, if you are struggling with the tech, either find help or pay somebody to do it, outsource it. Your website is such an important part of your online business. It's not something that you want to kind of skim over. So definitely get some help.
I agree 100%. So like when I was first starting my business, I created my website myself, but there's
Mm-hmm.
things that I want to like upgrade and make it nicer. And I know that that's not my zone of genius. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm hiring you. So
Yeah.
we're going to talk more because this is your zone of genius. And like, yeah, I can do a decent job, but I know that you can do a way better job than what I can do. So like, yeah, you're going to be helping me in the future. But I totally agree. Like this is something I see a lot of entrepreneurs, they're stuck in these little tasks, especially the techie tasks that are so overwhelming, especially if you're not techie. And a lot of us aren't. We're like visionary thinkers and like we have some, like we're those creative mind people. And then we get stuck in these little tech jobs that are taking forever and end up getting nowhere. So top takeaway, hire Ashley to do your work. Because like Seriously though, like this is something that if it's taking you a long time and stressing you out and it doesn't look good, you need help. And
Yeah,
if you want a legitimate business, you need to treat it like a business and you need to
exactly.
invest in it.
Yeah,
Like people aren't going to take you seriously if your website doesn't look that great.
yeah.
And that like that's a first impression. And so if you're trying to DIY it yourself and it looks like crap, like you're going to end up losing business. And so it's
Hmm.
suck it up and make that investment in yourself. So you're gonna get that return on that investment. But yes, sorry.
Yeah, no, I'm, yes, 100% with you, 100%. Because there are things like social media is not my zone of genius. It drives
Yeah,
me crazy. It is not something I enjoy. So I'm hiring somebody to take over, at the very least, my Instagram, because it sucks me dry. So yeah, definitely hire someone. And it doesn't have to be super expensive. You
no,
can, there are, you don't have to pay thousands of dollars for a website. There are cheaper ways to do it if somebody that can just get you to that next step until you can afford to invest more and then improve on it. So it's something that you can continuously improve.
right.
But if it's killing you now, get it, get help with it so that you can move on and focus on what you are good at, what is your zone of genius.
For sure. How much should someone budget to spend on creating a website? Because I've heard like horror stories of people spending thousands of
Oh my gosh.
dollars and
Yeah.
getting screwed. So, like,
Yeah.
what would you say is a good amount that they should spend?
If you are on a really, really tight budget and you feel like you do have the skills to DIY it, to build it yourself, you can do it for so, so cheap. And one of the things that drives me crazy is hearing people talk about how expensive WordPress is. Because, oh my gosh, it can be so cheap. I think HostGator allows you to, I love Bluehost, but you have to pay for 3 years of hosting up front.
Mm-hmm.
Their cheapest plan is $142 for 3 years of hosting, but that's still a big investment for some people who are just starting out. But hosting providers like HostGator, they do have monthly options where it's less than $10 a month. Some I think are even $5 a month,
Yeah,
and
like
you
five
pay
bucks.
that per month. And so you can pay $5 a month. WordPress is free to install. A domain, some hosting providers include a domain with their hosting plan. But if you do have to buy your domain, which the domain is your web address, so for me, that's ashleyKaplan.com. But if you do have to buy a domain, it's like $12 a year.
Yeah.
So, and then you don't have to pay for a theme. You don't have to pay for any plugins until you're ready to do that. So you can have a website up and running in what, $70 per year,
Yeah.
and you're paying $5 a month. So it's so, so affordable if you're going to do it yourself. Now, if you want to hire someone to do a full website for you, then unless you're hiring a complete agency and you're planning on launching a huge business, like then you will spend, even $20,000 possibly, but they're doing a lot more than just building you a website. If you're hiring a local designer, I would say in the range, it kind of depends, but if you're hiring, someone like me, anywhere from, and these are not my prices, but anywhere from a few $100s to a few thousand, but under 5,000, I would say for sure. So it really depends on what your budget is, what your tech skills are, and where you feel like you can, what you can do yourself. But if you are doing it yourself, you can do it for so, so cheap, so cheap.
So anywhere from a few hundred to a few thousand, just depending on like who it is, who's doing
Yeah,
it, that kind of thing. Okay.
yeah,
And definitely I would get recommendations before you spend a
yes,
couple $1,000s. So like know who to, because I really have heard so many bad stories of people
yeah,
getting locked into contracts and like just crazy stuff that they never delivered. So I would
yeah,
definitely make sure if you are going to hire someone, get some really good testimonials.
yes,
Like talk to people who'd hired them before, know like exactly what you're getting, the deliverables when it's coming, because
yeah.
otherwise like you could really get screwed.
And
Um,
chances are, if you're getting started with your business, you probably have other friends, what, maybe not local friends, but in the online community, who have just hired someone who have great recommendations to make. So hit up your fellow online entrepreneurs, see who they use, and get their recommendations, because that's, word of mouth is great.
yeah. What's your favorite theme that you use for WordPress?
I recommend using Ocean WP or Astra. They're both free themes, and they both integrate so well with Elementor. And with Elementor, it's a drag and drop plugin. They have a free version. The pro version is only $49 a year. And then after that, or well, the first year after that, it goes down. It's like $37 a year after the first year. So it's super affordable. But again, if you're on a budget, the Ocean WP and Astra themes are both really highly customizable compared to a lot of the other themes. You don't get a lot of the bulk that you get with some of the paid or premium themes. And you can fully customize those to suit your needs, even if you don't buy the pro version of Elementor.
Cool. What are some of the plugins that you recommend?
Definitely Elementor, like
Okay.
100% Elementor. And Elementor Pro, if you can afford it, if you can afford the investment. Yoast SEO, Google Analytics for WordPress, Ninja Forms. If I really, they have the most robust free version for a form collector. So if you want a contact form to notify you when someone hits up your website and wants to get in touch with you. Updraft Plus is a backup and security plugin that has a great free version, and it backs up some. You have to be careful with the backup plugins because some of them will only back up your database files. Others will back up both database files and media files, and Updraft Plus does that even with the free version.
Okay. Can you have too many plugins?
Oh my gosh, yes. Yeah. So it's kind of like whenever iPhone first came out, there's an app for that. Like there's a plugin for that. So don't rely too heavily. I mean, you have to rely on plugins. That's the whole beauty of WordPress, is that you don't have to hand code everything. Well, you don't have to hand code anything because someone has built a plugin for it. But if you bog down your website with plugin after plugin after plugin, that's more code that's running in the background, and that can bog down your website. So just be careful with installing unnecessary plugins or plugins that do some kind of really neat trick, because a lot of times those neat tricks require a lot of code on the back end, and it can really bog down your page load time.
Gotcha. Why do you like WordPress over like Squarespace or Wix or something like that?
Yeah, so I have a couple of clients who came to me on Squarespace. Some of them are still on Squarespace just because they've been there, they don't want to change. But with WordPress, you have 100% ownership, 100% control of all of the content that's on your website. With Squarespace, you don't necessarily. So when I say you have 100% ownership and control, I can log into my hosting provider, which for me is Bluehost, and I can download every single file that makes up my website, and I can export it, and I can save that back up to my computer or to the cloud, or I can take it to another hosting provider and say, hey, I want to move my website to you, and we upload those files, and bam, my website's on a new host. With Squarespace, you're hosted on Squarespace. For the vast majority of users, cannot get the access to the code files. So if you ever decide that you want to leave Squarespace or Wix or Weebly, they own your content. You can't just download your files and go. They own your content. Now, there are some tools that will allow you to export some of like your blog content, but if you are moving from one platform to another, chances are you're going to do a lot of copying and pasting, and it's not going to be fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the other platforms like Squarespace, Wix, and Weebly, they are limited. Squarespace especially, you can build some beautiful, beautiful websites with Squarespace, but as a designer, I can look at a website and almost immediately tell like, oh, that was built on Squarespace, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, but you can't quite customize a Squarespace site the way you can customize a WordPress site. Mm-hmm. So if you are looking to, and especially if you have an e-commerce store, you might get to a point, it'll work for a lot of people and it'll work for a long time, but you might get to a point in the future where you've outgrown it, and then you need something like WordPress. WordPress powers like 33% of the websites in the world. Wow. And huge, huge platforms like the BBC is Reuters. You know, there are, what was one I saw the other day that I didn't know, Yelp is powered by WordPress. So, I mean, there are, you know, it's not just for bloggers anymore. Huge websites, huge companies use WordPress for their platform, and there's a reason for that.
Definitely. So you talked about not having too many plugins. Are there other things we can do to speed up our website time?
Yes. One plugin that I did not mention, I'm kind of going back and forth right now between different image optimization plugins. You don't want to have huge, and by huge, I mean like high resolution photos or videos on your website because those can take a long time to load. There are plugins that help with that. I found one that I thought I really liked, and I'm not really sure about it now. So I don't have a good recommendation right now to make. Smush is the one that I had always used before now, and it works pretty well. But if you don't have a plugin installed that will help compress those images and increase that load time, then you will definitely notice a difference in your page load time whenever you have lots of photos or lots of graphic images or graphics on your website.
Gotcha. Okay. Talk to us. What's the best book you've read that has
Uh,
impacted your life or business?
Definitely Building a Story Brand by Donald
Oh,
Miller. Without a doubt, I'm an audiobook fiend because I just don't have time. I love to read. Like I got in trouble when I was a kid reading so much, but I don't have the time to do it the way I like to anymore. So I listen to audiobooks, and I think I've listened to Story Brand 3 times in the
wow.
last 6 months. Love it. I mean, I can. It seriously is. I don't think any book has ever transformed my like what I do on a day-to-day basis the way Story Brand has.
Amazing. And he has a podcast too. And
He
he has
does.
like a free video series on his website. So
Yeah,
check out.
he has so much great content, YouTube content. I turned on one of my clients to him, and he's like, did you see Donald's new video? I'm like, not yet.
Oh, that's so funny. Yeah. So Donald Miller, amazing. What's the
Yeah.
best investment you've made into your business?
Oh my gosh, definitely the Impact Blogging Academy for
Yeah.
sure. Yeah, without a doubt. Without a doubt. Yeah.
Oh, that makes me
Yeah.
happy.
I mean, I was so, like I maybe would have, as unfocused as I was, as many things as I was trying to do, I don't know that I ever would have found this true niche because I enjoyed what I was doing with, just the website building. It had never really occurred to me to um, teach other people how to do websites. And I was hand coding everything before. So it wasn't something, it's benefited me in so many ways and my clients because before I was hand coding everything. If my clients needed an update, they would need to come to me to make that change. Once I started using Elementor, which I resisted just because I was like, well, I'm a developer. If I use a drag and drop page builder, I'm not a developer. But that's so not true. It's makes it my turn times a lot quicker because I'm not hand coding everything. But B, it empowered me to empower my clients and now my students with my online course to learn how to create and maintain their websites themselves. And that has been, oh my gosh, I enjoy teaching people so much more than I enjoy creating stuff. And I love creating stuff, but I enjoy teaching people so much. And that has made a huge, huge difference.
Can you tell us about the course that you created through the Impact Blogging Academy?
Yeah. So it's called the Worry-Free WordPress Academy, and it walks you through how to start your money-making blog in 6 weeks or less. So I haven't counted how many hours of video tutorials, but it is everything from, we start with mindset work, then we go into like actually setting up your website, and this is all video tutorial guided. And getting your hosting, installing WordPress, installing Elementor, and then everything. So you get we go through page by page by page, how to set it up, how to use Elementor. Plus you get all of my templates, my Elementor templates that I use to create the website within the course. There's a lot of bonuses there. It's just, I am so proud of that course. Not because of what I created, but because what I've seen my students do and the feedback that I've gotten from my students. I mean, it just makes my heart explode. I love it.
So
It's
fun.
been so much fun. Yeah.
Yeah. So for someone that's not ready to hire somebody to actually do their website, that would be a really good step. Worry-free
Yes.
WordPress.
Yeah. Yeah. If they try to get started and they don't really, they know they don't want to hire somebody, but they're just kind of in limbo. Yeah, definitely. Definitely.
Awesome. What does it mean to you to make an impact?
Well, okay. So I donate 10% of my revenue to different charities, mostly here locally. But I think it is so important to give back to our communities and to give back to those, or to help those who maybe aren't in a position where they can move forward and take that next step for themselves. So I I love, like, my three core values are freedom, peace, and generosity. So, and I'm really big on the generosity aspect. I didn't grow up with a lot of money, and so I really want to, as I move forward and as I am able to bring in more money, I know I'm able to make more of a difference and to help more people. And that to me is so, so important.
Amazing. What's next for you?
I don't know. I'm going to be launching another round of the Worry Free WordPress Academy later this summer. I'm not quite sure when yet, um, but I'm just kind of ramping up for that and getting excited for my next launch and the next round of students that I'm going to help. And yeah, I'm excited to. I've got some travels planned for the summer, and we're just moving into that. And I'm kind of excited to see where it all is going to lead this summer. So
Yes, cool. Where can we connect with you?
I am on Facebook and Instagram at WordPress with Ashley. I have a Facebook group called Worry Free WordPress, where I help female entrepreneurs in all stages of their business, with whether they're just getting started or they just want some design tips. So that's I really enjoy that community. And then at my website at ashleykaplan.com.
Amazing. Thank you so much for coming
Yes,
on.
thank you.
Adding value to my people. I really appreciate you. And I'm so proud of you and how far
Thank
that
you.
you've come, and the best is yet to come.
Yes, amen.